Next up is Marco and Fabiano giving a great talk. Give a round of applause to Marco and Fabiano.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And it's afternoon now, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marco Di Pasquale and Fabiano. We are from Cipher. We're going to walk through a little bit around our red team within Cipher, which is a practice that we have there, and sort of run you through a real life scenario that we can do and have done. Just to tell you a little bit about Cipher, we've been around since 2000. We are operating in 18 countries. I run North America, but I have peers that are in LATAM and all throughout Europe. We have about 500 employees, very early pioneer in the managed security service provider space, if you will, and hold, of course, a whole host, our company holds a whole host of certifications from ISO, SOC 1, SOC 2, et cetera, that you would expect. We have a practice that does PCI, so we have QSA on staff and GRC work of all sorts. And we also have internal certifications with our various employees, of course. Been written up in Forrester, CRN, Frost & Sullivan, and whatnot. I personally have been in the cyber / when it was called InfoSec for 23 years now. So worked all across the globe with various firms, a lot in the financial services and pharma space. And at Cipher, that I will say that that's a core part of our business, right? We work primarily with enterprise customers and serve those customers for many years. Very familiar with the various industries and certifications that are needed. Just want to touch on, and then we're going to turn to the real show with Fabiano on some of the different services that we do offer. As I mentioned, managed security services. Our XMDR is a new launch. I'll touch on that just on the next slide, but it's exciting. Have some artificial intelligence built into it. We've built in some of our own IP. This is some folks that came over to our firm about a year ago, that this is their third run at a platform similar to this. Very open platform, very different. And for those of you that are looking to go do hybrid security, I think it could be a very interesting play. Governance risk compliance is one of our major practices. As I mentioned, we have folks on staff that do certifications, NIST, ISO. We do the PCI pieces I mentioned before. The red team, Fabiano will talk a little bit more about that and some of the tools that we've actually using a variety of AI and a host of open source built internally to give our customers a better value. And lastly is our integration services. We do sell a variety of product and technologies that support the services that we offer to our clients. We will post this, I believe, somewhere within the CornCon piece, but this is our platform. We integrate, just think of it this way, that our XMDR platform is leveraging open technologies to sort of walk away from the SIM world and go towards more using data where the data resides and making intelligent decisions using some of our Cyber Labs X63 unit. With that said, I'm going to pass it over to my friend Fabiano here, and he's going to walk you through a scenario around arming your executive for the new digital front.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for standing here with us. So, as Marco was describing, we are going to talk about a few service lines that we have. We're going to describe an approach that we are using in our daily basis to target our pen test and red team service engagement, and show the methodology and the tools that we have created and how you guys can apply that too with these kind of tools, or using our own approach. The idea is to share how we are trying to achieve that with a different glance. So we have the necessity of conducting pen testing and red team engagements, but we are trying to be more precise and smart with this approach, and we're gonna share with you how we are going to do that. Where's that? Okay. Better now? Okay, so we are going to follow a scenario here. Let's try to use these to conduct our presentation and show how we can solve this problem. In our company, we have a CEO, and this company is going through a merge process, and this CEO is a target for cyber attacks. That is a common situation, by the way, and the idea is how we can identify if this CEO is really a target and how he can be exploited, attacked, and have his information, sensitive data, or any kind of material stolen or compromised somehow. Okay, so based on intelligence, let's try to define what are the attack vectors, how we can create more education on him or on the company itself to avoid that. And of course, at the end, how our defenses will work to protect us and mitigate these damages if they happen. This is the strategy. We're gonna do first measure on the exposure level to see what kind of information about the company and the CEO are being exposed, and define a list of attack vectors that we're gonna try to mitigate and protect against it. And the second one will be a simulation where we're gonna try to see if someone go over these attack vectors and really can break inside and do some damage, how our defenses, how our blue team will react against that, if we're gonna be able to protect the company and protect the CEO. So that's the attack surface report. This is a tool that we have developed, and the idea is using public information, or at least information that is not secret, how we can understand and create an overview in the security perspective of a company. So you give me your domain name, and I'm gonna tell you what kind of information about your company is being exposed and how someone can leverage on that to create a damage, to attack you, to break inside your company.
So just to add, any of you that come from a firm, private or public, and you want us to run this report for you, feel free to stop by our booth, and we're happy to run it for you.
Good call. So again, we're gonna try to stick with our use case here. So we're not going to cover all steps and sections of this report, but these are the type of thing this report will deliver for us. So we're gonna identify assets, we're gonna identify people, we're gonna go over intelligence gathering to see, for example, if your company is being related in dark web portals, if some kind of information was stolen from your company and someone is trying to sell that in the dark web, if your passwords have been shared, public exposed, and stuff like that. We're gonna enumerate your data. We're gonna try to see if your brand logo, your brand in general is being exposed in a way that you do not conceal or do not authorize. If someone is pretending to be your company, you're gonna check social media to see what kind of stuff people are talking about you. You're gonna check your email security and healthy. That's important. For example, if you are merging with a company, or if you are trying to create a partnership with another company and you have concern about how secure this company is or how the security standard of this company is before you start working with them. So it's interesting for you to understand how this company is positioning regarding that. So if it's a company with a lot of blacklist relators, or is being mentioned with no kind of secure pattern created for the email, for example, that's a sign that maybe this company is not taking care of the cybersecurity landscape on their side, and you should be aware of that up front. I'm gonna check your apps. So that's interesting, because if you own the company, of course you know what is in there, but we've seen situations where legacy devices or legacy environments were remaining in a company after a while, or after a merge or any kind of operation, and the administrator was not aware about what was exposed. So if you have, for example, a web server running outdated version of Apache or any kind of other application that is vulnerable to a CVE or an exploit, it's interesting for you to be aware of that. WAF detection, let's see if you have a WAF protecting yourself. Regular whois information, again, you can use this when you're partnership with someone else. Geolocation information, the same idea here. And metrics is the part where Cipher is trying to apply some AI techniques and formula to metric and measure your exposure level and see how you are being exposed. Can I go ahead? Okay, so everything that you're gonna see right now are from a real scenario, so real data. Of course, you are not exposing IP addresses or domain names, any kind of information that can relate to the original person, to the original entity. But it's all there, all real, all from real life. We just changed the address for this presentation, and we chose this one as an example. Of course, it's fake, right? No way Stark Industries is being hacked. So, first part of the report, asset discovery. Here we are seeing how we are able to publicly find information about this company, addresses, subdomains, and information that we can use to leverage on an attack. Here we are fighting people, so it's possible to see that we have Anthony Stark related on the internet with some information about him. We can see that he was posting on Facebook an article and on another website too, and we can find the link when that thing happened and more information about the person. Again, all of this is real. Of course, not Tony Stark. He would never be in a report like that. But that's the idea. So we can easily find this type of information, and you're gonna see how we can use this to create some sort of damage on this company. Intelligence gathering, here we can see some cool information as well. There was an exposure of phone numbers, so that's important. We're gonna see why. And some GitHub file that were categorizing domains, and our domain was in the list. Social media lookup. So here we are trying to see if there are similar matches of our username on public social media services and platforms. That's interesting because when you have uncommon names or usernames being used on other services, there is a high chance that you are talking about the same person. And that happens all the time. We can start one thing called credential stuffing, where we spray a password attack all over these services and systems in hope to get inside and break using the same password that was related in a data breach. So it's a very common attack. It's a vector for situations that we've seen in Cipher before when we were helping customers to solve this type of problem.
As rudimentary as it seems, a lot of times when we're going through this with our clients, it's around this section that their eyes start to open up and see who's doing what, and some changes are made to policies.
Here we are seeing, again, real data of compromised accounts. Tony Stark was related to 3 big data breaches before. And you can see in the compromised data line, the type of information that was related on those data breaches. If you have information like email, address, name, date of birth, you can use that for phishing, for sure. If you have password relating that data breach, it's even worse because you can get access to that password, you spray another type of attack in hope to get access to his services. Again, maybe we are not able to log in Tony Stark main account inside Stark Industries domain, but we still can be able to log in on his personal email address using the same password or any other type of service and do the escalation for further compromises. That's the way we see this happening every day. This is the final formula dashboard. This is just a small view of that because we are not running all checks on this situation. But the idea here is applying some intelligence over results and get an information at the end, trying to measure how exposed your company is. And of course, try to help you, assist you, and minimize that value to low or close to zero exposure. There are some situations, of course, that this will not be possible if you are a public company or if you have a lot of marketing work exposed. You're gonna have exposure, that's impossible. But the idea here is to minimize the bad exposure. So things that can be used against you to attack your company. Okay, so that's the first part of our approach. We run this report, the report is completed, and we have this information we just see here right now in the presentation. Now the next step is use these to extract vectors and trying to start applying intelligence over the process. So we can extract from this real scenario 4 major vectors that are a pacing dump with phone numbers. So definitely we can use that for phishing and scam attempts. We have potential social media accounts. We can use that for the same thing, plus the credential stuff, which is a very common attack and very successful, being honest. We have information about people, so we know where Tony Stark is reading his articles or where he is posting his information. We know that he's active on Facebook because we saw a public post on his name and when that happened, by the way. And we have data breach on his user email. So with that, we can try to fraud. We can try to, again, do some credential stuffing attacks. We can try to phishing as well. And one thing that's very important and very used when you're targeting CEOs or executives in general, you can start constructing dictionary attacks. So we can grab pieces of that information to create potential user lists or data lists that can be used to breach in the company. So a password or a personal password for his social media platform, all of these can be used. And again, the idea is not to compromise at first time the main entry point, but if you can get inside using a platform, a social media services or anything like that, you can always escalate to the great prize. Okay, based on that, so far, what can we prioritize? So education, we know where he is exposed, so we can start educating him to avoid some type of actions that can create a problem for him. We are aware of everything. That's important. When we know where our information is and how our information can be used against us, it's a good start point to protect against a sort of attacks and create these vectors inside our company, in our defenses, to protect ourselves against that. Attack vector. So if I know the possible ways that I can be attacked, I can use that to create my instant response to use cases. So I know where should I be protecting myself, or where my team should be working to create the protection. What type of systems I need to monitor, what type of logs I should be seeing and searching to identify these attempts. And of course, we can act on those. If I know that my data was compromised, or if I know if my email or service was related to data breach, we can go there and invalidate this type of information, change the passwords, or remove from there if it's possible.
Yeah, to that point, we oftentimes work with our clients on a majority of their security program, including security awareness training that clients have gone back to the old school of doing. We'll do sessions for, like, in their auditorium throughout a couple days or things of that nature based on these type of attacks. Or some of these penetration tests that the red team does, we'll go do some SDLC training for the coders and whatnot. So we leverage these various different methodologies to expand and help them in their overall security program, not just in one little niche area.
So as Marco was saying, from now we have some response actions to apply. So we can start our educational trainings, we can start our phishing campaign monitoring to see if something is coming inside. We can start the deployment of specific security tools that will work for that specific situation. If I know a vector exists for a specific part of my company or technology, I can work with a specific tool to create the defense barrier to protect against that. So that's important, because the most part of the time it's very hard to protect against everything. So you should be trying to attack where you are more exposed to reduce the damage. And of course, sanitize the compromised data. So if you have an email that was compromised, stop using, or do whatever you can to minimize the risk. Change the password, change the information that is related to that, and do that for all data breach that you have with your account. Okay, so first part is complete. We had an assessment, and we did that very fast. This report can run in 1 hour, and we didn't have to scan the entire company to get access to that information. That's important to say. We are doing this using public information. So we are not taking the place for a vulnerability scan or a pen test assessment. These are different things. What we're trying to do is to estimate the exposure level of a specific person inside the company and the company in general. And we did that very fast. In 1 hour, we can get access to that information. And that help us to create the vector list. Where should we be putting our energy to defend against? So that's the first part of the approach. And the second one is, okay, we have a strategy here, how we can defend against that, what kind of information we have exposed, and how we should be acting. Now let's suppose that we are attacked, and somehow our defenses do not work against this type of attack. How can we see the damage for that situation happening? So for that, we are going to conduct the second part of the strategy. We can definitely define here as considerations 2 factors. Our actor in this case, Tony Stark, has multiple data breaches on his email address. So the email address is exposed. So definitely for someone trying to attack him, drop a file, or drop a binary, or drop something by email is a very easy way to achieve that. So definitely it's going to be the first attempt. So we can work with that. The delivery will be a binary in email for our simulation. And the attack binary will be a answer for this situation. Again, we're talking about a CEO that is in a merge process with other companies. So if we can encrypt his files and get access to these files, it's very good for us, being bad actors. So let's try to work with these assumptions and conduct our next step. For that, we're going to start what we call purple team exercises. And for those who are not familiar with the term, the idea here is being in the middle of the conversation between the blue team and the red team services. So if I'm conducting a red team services engagement and trying to attack my company internally to see how I can get access to information, what type of information I can get my hands on, we also have the blue teams on the other side that's going to be there trying to defend, try to detect, and to mitigate that action. The thing is, most part of the time, these teams, they don't work well or talk well together. It's complicated to create this interface between them. That's where purple team comes in place, to create this interface, to measure results, to conduct what is going to be sent out for the tests, for the simulations, and how the company can get some benefit of that type of exercise. So these are the goals for our purple team exercises. We're gonna test if our TTPs are being protected and how they are applying in our attack simulations inside the company. We are training our defenders. We are training our employees in general. We are creating materials for improve and enhance the cybersecurity perspective inside the company. And we are creating these as a process to improve our security level in general. So based on our first attempt here in the first part of the presentation with information that we got, we're gonna run a simulation, an exercise using those vectors and see how our company will react to that. We chose a real ransomware binary to run on this simulation, and this is how the report looks like. We are not attacking, we are not breaking enough inside the computer or inside the company. We are running emulation scripts. So we have a platform that handles a lot of different scripts and actions, and all of these are being executed on the CEO computer. And with that information on our hand, we can try to see how his computer and how our defenses will react against those type of attacks. Okay, so again, we are not actually encrypting his files, but we are running emulation scripts that are trying to do that without breaking or without damaging the real files, and see if that's possible to be detected or not. With these metrics, if we are going further in the process of attacking him and getting access to the information and getting access to the encrypted files, we can generate metrics and use this information to send back to our blue team to create a defense. And in a real scenario, when that is really happening, coming from outside, we're gonna be good, we're gonna be safe against those. Okay, so all of these lines represents one type of technique, and that relates to the Conti answer. All of this information is public. There is a description in many reliable platforms, DoD or the platforms that you want to go to see how this type of answer works, and these are the techniques that this guy is using during the attack process. So we are emulating all of them. This is how it looks like. So on the left side, we have a test. So we are applying the technique, the test, and we are trying to see what is happening. In the output, we can see what was really returned to us. So this process related specifically to network identification, to grab information about the network, and you guys can see that on the right side, part of that information was returned. So when this answer is being executed, part of the job is identify the network, get information about how it can be spreaded and reach out other segments, other networks, other devices. And the first step is doing this reconnaissance process locally.
And you're using a tool that you've created internally, right, on this, to automate all of this?
Yes, that's correct. So we are using some open source projects and our own intelligence on this application. So it's a bunch of scripts that run, and after these scripts are executed, we have our own tool processing these results, parsing information, and putting on the website for us to analysis. There is a major script, which is a Python module that can accept custom scripts as well. So that's interesting, because if you want to test a specific situation that work only in your environment, we can craft a script and run on this platform as well. That's interesting. So we are not limited to test only well-known answers or binaries or malwares. We can create our own malware and run that for tests using the same tool, the same platform. Another test being executed. Now we are trying to see the task list. So it's important to see that all tests are working. So in a real situation, when Conti is being executed, Conti would be able to access all of that information. Another one, you can see on the right side that part of the script failed, so not everything worked, and that's part of the exercise, because maybe the script is not well configured for that specific situation, or our blue team is doing the job. So maybe an endpoint is in place protecting against that. Maybe we have a antivirus application running, Windows Defender or whatever, and that's protecting and avoiding the script to be executed. That's the entire idea of this type of exercise. We are running these, we are getting access to this information, and now we can talk each other between blue team, red team, and understand what is happening. Why the first test failed? So we need to change something in our script, or you guys are protecting, you guys are seeing that and somehow stopping this thing to happen. That's the idea. Of course, there are few stuff very complicated for you to stop, because they are needed for the normal daily operation. But for others, you should be always trying to identify, stop, minimize, or somehow create some authorization level in place to stop that for being executed by everyone. That's the idea. So after all of that, you're going to review the results. You're going to identify the areas that you have to apply your energy to improve. You're going to validate all the actions and see what is happening and what is not happening. You can plan and create your mitigation program. Okay, when that happens, how can I get back from that bad situation? You're going to review outcomes. You're going to importantly document everything. So you're going to have everything documented and on paper, so you can use these in a recycle process with other teams as well to create your cybersecurity posture inside the company and all of that. And at the end, rise and repeat, because that's a continuous process, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically what we try to do is build some of these openware tools that our clients get to use to build it into their security program, so it's a continual part of that program. It's not just a one point in time, or somebody's upset because, you know, they obviously got ransomed or got breached in some way. So trying to build it into the security program, creating the right cadence, and every firm has a different cadence that is important to them. Some of them are, it's more often, sometimes it's less often, but at the end of the day, it's important to be in touch with our clients, and our consultants work with them to go over exactly what Fabiano said, is to review those test results, go over each one, give the different vectors that were opened, and making sure that there is the ultimate goal of trying to help them along with their security program and see what other things are necessary.
Want to do it later? We forgot. If we want to do it later, we forgot. Picture of us.
I was going to get that.
Okay, so here we are trying to highlight beneficial points and aspects of this approach. The main idea here is not to stick only with tools and applications, but the methodology that we're trying to use. We still are in need to run our security program and our security approach inside the company that stands for scanning, identify weak spots, do the penetration testing and all of that. So all of these are still necessary. But the idea here is how we can address the specific situations and the specific needs faster and in a reliable way. And of course, try to apply intelligence in the process. So we are trying to measure here a situation where our CEO is being exposed and in danger. So why we can't do that using this type of approach instead of spending a lot of time scanning devices, scanning his computer, trying to penetrate his barrier. All of that will work, but will not give to us the answer that we want. That's why we should change the approach when we are handling this type of situation. So use the public information, try to identify vectors, try to see where the attack should be happening in a real scenario if you were trying to attack them. And with that information, we can definitely create a better approach to handle this type of situation. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.